morning. Not sure what we're getting into today, but it's cold out. It's cold. The truck says 26. Just leaving Food Lion, got some groceries. Gonna head back to the garage and see what kind of fun we can get into. Stay tuned. Alright guys, here we are in the camper. I wanted to show you this heater that I installed a couple months ago. So I've originally been using this fireplace electric heater that came built into the camper for the last few years. This thing is 1500 watts. And it normally kept it semi-comfortable in here, at least when it's freezing outside like it is now. But the problem is this thing would shut off. It started shutting off on its own randomly. So I'd, come home and it'd be 30 degrees in here some nights. So I decided to use this garage heater that I got off of Amazon. And there's a few things I want to tell you about this if you decide to do something like this. This heater is not connected to the camper power supply in any way at all. The 30 amp breaker the camper has could not possibly power this heater. This heater I ran to the garage breaker panel, the main panel for the house. And I hooked it up to a 30 amp double pole breaker, which is 240 volts. So this type of setup is not for everybody in a camper, but if you're in a similar situation where you have access to that type of shore power, I just wanted to show you that it is an option. And it keeps it very toasty in here. And yes, this will run your electric bill up like crazy if you run it all the time. That's not the purpose that I use this for. I only use this when it's very cold outside. I use it to bring up the temperature in the camper. So that way when I leave this electric fireplace on a low setting, 62, it just makes it easier for this to maintain a comfortable temperature inside the camper. And then I would shut this one off. All right, we're going underneath. So here's where the conduit comes in the side there. There's a 90-degree flexible conduit elbow. Comes in here. And there's the wiring. Got the ground. And then the white and the black in their respective slots. It's easy, not hard. So this is the type of wire that I used. I put a picture on the screen here. It comes out of where we just wired it, runs through this bottom cabinet. And then you can see the orange wire. I actually had to splice this into a different 10 gauge wire. That is not recommended. I just didn't have enough to run the whole 63 feet to the breaker box, so this is temporary. And the wire continues to run through here, and this is the point where I spliced the two 10 gauge wires together using the appropriate wire nuts in this little junction box right here. Again, I don't recommend doing that, but you can get by doing it maybe once throughout the whole run. This is the point where the wire goes outside of the camper, to that spot right there. And then I'm going to show you the outside, how I kind of fished it through this little box that was originally for an antenna or a phone line or something, which I don't use. And here is where the 10 gauge wire exits the side of the camper through this little hatch here that I found. I put a rubber grommet around the wire itself just to protect it. And that wire runs underneath the deck. The total run is 63 feet from the heater to the breaker itself. And now I'm going to show you the other side. And this is the other side of the deck where the wire comes out and then runs through the back door to the garage and into the breaker panel. Now this wire should be secured or buried better than what I just showed in the previous clip. But just for the video's sake, I'm showing it just how it's connected basically to the heater, to the breaker panel. This breaker here with the red tape is the 2-pole 30 amp breaker that powers the heater. The single pole 30 amp marked in yellow, that is the camper breaker. You cannot connect this heater to that breaker. It's about 11 a.m. That heater has been running for about 30 minutes now. It is currently 33 degrees outside here in Virginia. And inside the camper, it's around 66 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and shut that heater off and turn the fireplace back on 62. That way when it drops too low, the fireplace will maintain it throughout the day. And I won't have to run that 240 volt heater anymore until it gets cold tonight. I built this little stand for the heater out of some scrap wood that I had. Just some old deck boards, and I just put some paint on it.